From the Institute for Sustainable Futures at the University of Technology, Sydney, on Gadigal land. This is Sustaining Australia TV 2023, brought to you by the Australian Food and Grocery Council in partnership with ASN Media. Hi, I'm Jessica Ridley and welcome to the program. Over 4 episodes, we take a look at the trends and innovations that will define the future of the food and grocery sector: sustainability, the circular economy, carbon reduction, technology, and the central role that regional Australia plays in providing for the nation. A focus on sustainability and the supply of a key ingredient has taken an iconic Australian biscuit manufacturer into the innovative realm of plant science. The Arnott's Group and partners Allied Pinnacle and Longreach are behind the release of an Australian-first new breed of soft wheat. When reporter Joe Pearson visited the Arnott's Bakery in Huntingwood, New South Wales, we discovered it was an important day for a very special guest.
That's a lot of biscuits, yeah.
Presented with an especially branded white coat, he's a baker for a day. And for 7-year-old Eason, this was a dream come true. The family regularly drove past Arnott's Huntingwood factory as they took Eason to the hospital for his cancer treatment. The little boy's greatest wish made possible today by the Arnott's Group and its foundation partner, Camp Quality.
This afternoon is very special. To be able to use what we do, what we love doing, to provide happiness and moments of comfort for individuals and their families is a wonderful thing.
And ensuring the continued supply of Australian-grown soft wheat, an essential ingredient for Eason's favourite biscuit, has created a unique partnership that takes us to Picton, west of Sydney. Miller's Allied Pinnacle have been supplying Arnott's with flour for more than 100 years. And in that time, the existing variety of soft wheat, Qual 2000, has declined in yield, becoming far less appealing to growers who can harvest higher yields per hectare from other crops.
Allied Pinnacle's purpose is to bake the future from flour every day. We recognise the need to be investing in the future of soft wheat and soft wheat flour for our key customer Arnott's Biscuits. So we've invested in a long-term soft wheat breeding program with Longreach breeding partners and Arnott's Biscuits.
More than 200,000 tonnes of grain from New South Wales growing regions are milled here each year. Soft wheat may be a small percentage of that, but an essential part of Arnott's value chain.
The Scotch soft wheat variety that we are currently commercialising has shown outstanding performance in terms of yield and also in disease resistance. And in fact, when grown under irrigated conditions, we're seeing a 16% improvement in yield year on year. And that's a big win for the growers, a big win for Allied Pinnacle, and of course for Arnott's.
Longreach plant breeders have been developing wheat varieties suited to Australian conditions for more than 20 years. Their breeding programs combine genetics, phenotypic and environmental data, statistics and artificial intelligence.
Our core purpose really is to make wheat more profitable by delivering varieties that add value. There are 3 key stakeholders here. So there's the mills, there's the grower, and then there's the food processor or Arnott's. And we need to make sure that everything that we deliver is going to meet the requirements of all those 3 stakeholders.
It was agreed to name the new soft wheat strain after an Arnott's biscuit, and Scotch won the vote. But before the new strain could be offered to growers, it had to undergo rigorous testing at Arnott's Huntingwood pilot plant.
We need to make sure that it gives us the right height that you expect from a Scotch finger, the dimensions you expect, the bite, so is it a really hard texture, is it a soft texture, does the perforation break properly? There are a lot of different properties that we test. The bake colour, there's just a whole list. We need to make sure that it is able to really get through a tough season. If it doesn't meet our score, our minimum score, it doesn't pass as a variety.
The partnership between plant breeder, miller and biscuit maker goes back to 2009, so that 14 years later, growers could have confidence in profitable returns, and Michelle, confidence in how this new soft wheat flour performs.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey Neil, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks, good.
I've got some great news.
That's good.
We've
I'm
got-
all for that.
Scotch from 3 locations, and we're finding great score on this one. So the circularity, the appearance,
Yeah,
we've got the biscuit height, perfect. Time for a new one to come out.
23 years.
Wow, yep.
Scotch soft wheat will be available for growers to plant in 2023, with the first harvest in 2024.
I think the value is really around the sustainability side of things, because if we weren't delivering these high yielding varieties to make Australian growers competitive, then that's a disaster for the industry, and that flows right through the whole food chain.
And creating a more sustainable supply chain is the key driver for Simon Loudon.
You need to make sure when you're embedding sustainability into Arnott's in particular, that you get the key players.
The Arnott's Group strategy is to be net zero within operations and across supply chain and partnerships by 2050. And 2 of its largest bakeries, one in New South Wales and one in Queensland, are on track to use 100% renewable electricity by 2029. Inside the bakery, young Eason is nearing the end of his busy day.
The biscuit's going to be covered in chocolate, and then they do a little turn over here, and look at that.
And he'll be taking home a familiar package that's also in Simon Loudon's sights for the future.
When it comes to packaging, we're focused on reuse and recyclability, ensuring that everything we produce, A, we use minimal packaging, and B, the packaging we use, you can put into recycling streams in your local neighbourhood.
Just one small disruption to supply chain can cause shortages, spoilage, or changes to pricing. And as we discovered recently, those disruptions can echo through the chain for many months, even years after the disruption itself. So we talked to industry leaders about their supply chain strategies to reduce vulnerability and achieve greater sustainability.
Do you think the recent disruptions have shown us what's needed in the future?
The last couple of years have really led to a number of initiatives across industry to, one, improve the supply chain resilience, and secondly, improve sustainability outcomes. So these are drivers that were always there, but they've absolutely escalated in importance over the last couple of years. Food and grocery manufacturers are looking at their manufacturing operations, but also their entire supply chains to improve efficiencies and resilience so that we can make sure that we are using the most available data, analysing that, and being able to make better decisions. Also looking at how we can move from just-in-time business models to just-in-case business models. And that means that we've got some extra resilience and capacity built into the system to be able to withstand some of the disruptions rather than operating just on this very lean basis, which can expose some gaps when we have some supply challenges.
Every supply chain strategy needs a serious and sophisticated sustainability component, and that takes every part of the strategy and the chain, whether it's processing, whether it's distribution, whether it's the investment side, whether it's scope 3 and taking in all stakeholder input. You need to look at all of these and build them in. The industry is capable of doing this, but needs to take it seriously.
We've got detailed plans by each segment in the value chain, from where we buy to how we move to how we sell, and each of them have detailed plans that allow us to improve methodically in sustainability.
It has to be end-to-end thinking. So we have to make sure that we're working with the right suppliers, the right manufacturing processes, that we then have the right energy supplies and packaging sources, and we talk about it in the correct way with our consumers. And you're going to see that to get to that, you have to have vertical integration. You have to make sure that the linkages are stronger than ever before, and you don't try and have isolated incidents of goodness. You try and connect things together.
Supply chain is critical to our net zero targets, our climate targets, and all of our sustainability targets overall, really. We can't achieve anything on our own. effectively anyway. So what we're aiming to do is partner with our key strategic carbon suppliers and key strategic overall suppliers to ensure that we meet all of our targets and help them in their journey and meeting their targets as well.
What sort of investment is necessary to grow the industry?
There's a really critical imperative to invest more in digital technologies that are going to improve supply chain resilience and also make sure that we've got the most efficient and competitive manufacturing in Australia. There have been some challenges with investing in capital equipment in Australia due to some profitability pressures, and we've certainly been advocating to the government for some measures that will help support capital investment that will retain and grow resilient manufacturing and supply chains in Australia.
Investment today is critical, and if you as a business leader need to ensure you're going to have strong footing for the future, now is the time you have to invest.
Supply chains have evolved to the point now where they're no longer just a poor cousin of the business. They are now a strategic enabler.
The fact that many businesses are looking in this era to make their supply chain shorter provides one of the best opportunities for regional Australia in generations in terms of utilising what is grown in those areas, what is processed in those areas, and to get it as quickly, as efficiently and as reliably as possible into the capital city markets or into the areas for export.
It's wonderful to see a light shone on manufacturing and the important role that it plays in Australia's economy. There are not only direct benefits in terms of employment and output, but there's a lot of spin-off associated with the sector, both in terms of sourcing ingredients and as well as the supply chain multiplier effect. Now, we want to really leverage and grow the sector in Australia, but that does mean that we can't be complacent. We need a strategic focus on food and grocery manufacturing. We need policies that support and incentivise investment. We need policies that are going to attract and retrain people to have the right skills for the industry in the future. And we also need to make sure that we have policies that support resilience in capacity and capability, not only in manufacturing, but also in transport and logistics and infrastructure to be able to move product around the country.
Manufacturers who once looked overseas for packaging now have local options that are less vulnerable and have a lower emissions footprint. We visited pacserv in Sydney, where digitalisation of the packaging process is being designed to help companies compete on a global scale. Here's what that digitalisation looks like and what it can do.
This small industrial estate in Marrickville in the inner suburbs of Sydney is home to an Australian packaging manufacturer, helping to solve one of the biggest challenges facing the food and grocery sector, the vulnerability of overseas supply. Innovation, technology and digitalisation developed here is designed to supply SMEs, or small to medium-sized enterprises, with quality digital packaging equipment, locally, sustainably and reliably.
I'm third generation packaging and manufacturing. My father designed and built packaging machinery and my grandfather worked in the FMCG space as well. So this is where we store components. It's exciting to be returning to that family tradition in terms of designing, building, manufacturing quality machinery right here in Australia.
For 16 years, pacserv has championed onshore packaging manufacturing.
Australian packaging has a fantastic reputation overseas for durability, for reliability, for quality of build. And we're expecting a great reception when we do actually get these things onto the international market.
But it's Australian manufacturers who stand to gain the most from pacserv's newly designed technological capabilities.
One of the reasons Australian manufacturers have had a hard time competing with cheaper international products is the access to technology. And that's a problem that we've been addressing over the last few years in terms of making more equipment more readily available to our local FMCG sector and enabling our local customers to be able to produce more products more quickly at world-class scale.
This is the packaging production line for a new product from family-owned Dari's Kitchen in Sydney.
We're a family-owned manufacturer. We live and breathe food. We produce fresh soups and dips under the Dari's Soups and the Pilpel Dips brands.
For enterprises like Dari's Kitchen, time frames and reliability of packaging is critical.
We have some very tight timelines to deliver the product into market. We were able to launch the product within 16 weeks from ideation Alternatives to use international packaging suppliers would have been 40 to 50 weeks, so that was a real difference. pacserv are a critical partner to our business, helping us to bring new products to market. They supply packing equipment, label machinery, and are supported by experienced service technicians. They are now part of the Dairies Kitchen family.
A close collaboration with the University of Technology Sydney, UTS, has been a real game changer.
We're working on things such as machine vision, predictive maintenance, and remote control of their existing fleet of machinery. We think it's going to be really competitive in the international segment because we're bringing features that have never been seen before in that industry.
We've had to acquire all the skills and experience and technology to have in-house readily at our disposal. And whilst the design and improvements of the machinery that we manufacture has come such a long way, it's about to take another giant leap forward in the digitalisation of the equipment and our production lines.
And it's an exciting leap forward for bright young graduates who seem to be enjoying the journey.
I love working at pacserv. It's a very forward-thinking company which is paving the way for Industry 4.0, developing new technologies which will help to create more efficient product packaging for resale and use.
pacserv's philosophy is to create robust buy-for-life machines, and with digitalisation, the business can always be connected to operations.
Machines will send us alerts and warnings saying, okay, this needs to get done ahead of time. It's going to reduce the downtime for all of the machinery on site and increase their efficiencies. The aim of the game is our operators will be able to look up the machine on the internet, find out if there is an issue, and they'll be able to walk the operator through over the phone and say, here's what needs to get done.
So here's what a digitalised packaging process means for manufacturers.
Here at pacserv, we like to offer a turnkey solution, so start to finish, where at the end of the line you'll be able to throw your product straight on the shelves at a local grocery store, which means everything's going to be connected via an app on your phone. You can control it, you input all the data on a HMI and the machine automatically does everything for you, and there's no mechanical adjustments anymore, making it simpler for the operator, increase efficiencies, and allow metrics to be pulled out for the production team.
It's nice to be not just an Australian manufacturer, but also supporting other Australian businesses. I think any manufacturer at the moment that's relying on international supply chain is having a hard time. And that's one thing that we don't have to worry about being an in-house manufacturer. We actually have the raw materials delivered to our workshop here, and we're actually turning that directly into parts and components of machines on the floor in real time.
We're probably guilty, like many manufacturers, that we default to go and look overseas for packaging solutions and machinery. There's great capability in Australia, there's great engineers and great agility from those businesses to be able to find solutions.
We forget just how good we are at manufacturing when we turn our mind to it.
Manufacturers have experienced dramatic changes in demand and supply chain vulnerability that require a rethink of how production interfaces with logistics and delivery. Dematic's intelligent systems are providing manufacturers with new options to automate for supply chain resilience and business continuity in an uncertain future.
Robots, like this automated guided vehicle, or AGV, use sensors to create a picture of the environment they're working in, to know what's around them, quickly find things, and make good decisions. But creating a clear picture of the future is still something beyond any smart technology.
I think the only certainty about the future is the uncertainty of the future. The last 5 years has highlighted all the risks that people hadn't previously considered, and I think they're only going to continue to be amplified and exponentially grow over the next decade. We're going to see a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility.
And in uncertain times, agility, resilience, and reducing costs take on a sharper edge. Brian Roberts is Global Insight Leader at the Institute of Grocery Distribution, or IGD, headquartered in the UK.
There are obviously a huge number of challenges occurring at the moment across the global food retail industry. One of those clearly is the huge explosion in terms of the cost base. So wages, materials, fuel, electricity, all of these costs are going through the roof.
Dematic is a familiar name in the Australian food and grocery industry, supplying state-of-the-art automated storage, transport and order fulfillment systems to Australia, New Zealand and Asia for more than 50 years. Dematic designs, builds and supports intelligent automated software and systems. Essentially, smart vehicles and robotics for optimizing production and logistics operations. Versatile technologies adapted for the challenges that lie ahead.
We're a proud Australian manufacturer, so we can provide more certainty around schedule and supply chain and mitigate the risks that international supply chains can bring by using local steel, manufacturing locally and delivering locally.
Certainty of delivery was seriously shaken during recent disruptions. So much so that supply and distribution can no longer afford to be a secondary consideration for food and beverage manufacturers.
Supply chains have evolved to the point now where they're no longer just a poor cousin of the business. They are now a strategic enabler.
The powerful trends that are reshaping the landscape of food and groceries in Australia show no signs of abating. There has been a massive shift in customer behaviour. Increasingly, customers want to see their food and groceries delivered to their doors reliably and quickly, as well as maintaining shelf life and freshness.
The genie's out of the bottle in terms of online, but it's much less profitable than in-store retailing. So people are trying to manage that challenge.
Australian populations are concentrated in our major cities, and increasing urbanisation is affecting the cost and availability of land for warehousing and distribution, whilst the super competitive labour pool is hitting manufacturers in rural and regional areas particularly hard.
They're seeing frequent churn and loss of labour as businesses vie with each other to retain an ever smaller pool of available labour. They've looked to try and simplify, go after some of the simpler tasks within the warehouse by using automated guided vehicles and saving that labour and then redeploying that valuable labour into other parts of their business where they can get far better value add.
Dematic's automated guided vehicles, or AGVs, are able to work safely around the clock with 100% accuracy and no brakes.
The evolution of grippers and sensing technologies, the use of artificial intelligence and the use of really clever vision systems is evolving rapidly, and this creates a robot that can almost pick up any item and move it from one tote into another tote or from one carton into another carton, and that's really, really exciting.
Height, lighting and fatigue are less of a problem in an automated warehouse. Goods can be stacked higher, so warehouses have greater capacity within a smaller footprint.
These facilities have minimal open spaces. It's a lights-out operation. They're using smart automation with great capabilities in on-off technology and electrical regeneration that are really driving efficiencies within these operations, saving on energy costs and reducing this risk to their business. It's allowing us to drive economies of scale within our business, drive efficiency within our labour force and remove challenges around congestion.
We're seeing a lot more collaboration between suppliers and their big retail customers. No one wants to see sales reduced. Everyone's got an interest in driving costs out of the value chain. So we're seeing some really nimble collaboration between the two sides.
Collaboration in the supply chain, and a future where smart robotic technologies will always have a clear view of what comes next.
For businesses reliant on cold storage, dramatic changes in the global and local supply chain may mean replacing prevailing just-in-time strategies with a new approach. As Stephen Claney reports, global temperature-controlled logistics provider Americold is supporting manufacturers to re-evaluate where logistics fit in to their future strategies.
3 years of disruption through health and geopolitical disturbances have changed global shipping and supply chains, and there's no turning back the clock. The cold storage industry and how it manages the delivery of foods from growers and manufacturers to supermarkets has risen to the challenge.
It's been a massive swing from not only our import customers, but also our local manufacturers.
Americold Logistics Regional Managing Director Andrew Mates says the food and grocery industry has gone from a just-in-time approach to one of just-in-case.
We're seeing everybody hold far more inventory than what they've ever held before, just in case something like this does happen again and they can better serve their end customer.
Americold Logistics is a global organisation focusing on the storage and distribution of chilled and frozen foods. It is meeting the challenges of a new world through innovation and automation. The focus is on incremental change, especially when it comes to meeting environmental commitments.
Let's say we load an average of 80 cartons onto a pallet.
If we can find a way to make that 82, then every 40 pallets that we send out the door, that's one pallet that we didn't need to build. The benefit of that is once we do that 24 times, that's one truck that we don't need to send out onto the road.
Having a large warehousing footprint also enables incremental improvement through how product is shelved and shared.
What it actually does is allow us to leverage our long rich histories with the Australian supermarket businesses and allow food manufacturers to sit in the same facility or on the same site as what the ultimate end customer is and take kilometres off the road and CO2 out of the atmosphere.
The real challenge in this industry, of course, is cooling costs, both monetary and environmentally.
Our facility uses 75% of its power on the refrigeration equipment, which makes it extremely expensive compared to an ambient facility.
Americold Logistics has made a huge commitment to solar power at its Laverton facility in Melbourne. 2,000 panels produce a megawatt of power, removing 2,100 tonnes of carbon each year in the process. Similar panels are being put in place at other facilities around the country, along with rainwater tanks. There's also LED lighting, variable speed drives on refrigeration units to control power use, rapidly operating doors on the factory floor, all bringing improvements on power consumption and reduction in costs. The company shares the benefits of keeping an eye on sustainability with the wider community. As part of its demand response program, the plant often turns its power off for a couple of hours at night. It doesn't affect the stored product. What it does do is provide a boost to the power grid, and that helps prevent any potential outages in the wider community. The other challenge in meeting the just-in-case needs of wholesalers and retailers is resources, people. To help attract and retain people, they've established a leadership academy.
Firstly, it builds the base skills of our emerging leaders, which is critical, but most importantly, we get that group working on common workplace problems, such as emissions, environment, retention of associates and so forth. So it's real life problem solving.
Commitment to people, to customers, to the environment. For the food and grocery industry, improvement in all areas, one step at a time, marks the road forward.
What I'm most proud of at Americold is how we connect with our customers. So customer service is definitely key, but connecting with our customers to make sure that we are incrementally improving their businesses and our businesses ultimately makes us a better partner and a value to their supply chain.
That's all for episode 1 of Sustaining Australia TV. In episodes 2 and 3, we'll bring you reports on advances in sustainability in the food and grocery industry. Now, you can download and share all 4 episodes of Sustaining Australia TV from the AFGC website. See you again soon.